The tension in the law office was palpable, like a storm about to break. I sat across the table from my parents. My father, Henry, was red-faced and visibly stressed, his business suit frayed at the edges. My mother, Vera, wore a gaudy faux fur coat and oversized sunglasses despite the rain outside, clutching a tissue and ready to cry at a moment's notice. When they saw me sitting there, they froze. "Minnie," my father stammered, confusion lacing his voice. "What are you doing here? We have a meeting with a loan officer." "I am the meeting, Dad," I replied, not even bothering to stand up. "My name is Minnie, and before I tell you how I brought my family's empire to its knees, I have to ask, where are you watching this video from right now? Let me know in the comments below." My mother scoffed, plopping down into a chair. "Don't be ridiculous, we've been worried sick about you. You ran off, abandoned the family winery. Do you have any idea how much money we've lost because of your little tantrum? You're going to pay for that." My father turned to the lawyer sitting beside me, Mr. Thompson, a sharp-looking man in a suit that probably cost more than my car. "Who are you? Where is the bank representative?" Mr. Thompson smiled calmly. "I am Mr. Thompson, and I represent your daughter, Minnie. There is no loan officer. This is a settlement conference." "Settlement for what?" My father let out a nervous laugh, pointing a finger at me. But that gesture didn't terrify me anymore. She's our daughter and our employee. If anyone should be settling, it's her for walking off the job. I leaned forward, looking him dead in the eye. "No, I'm not coming back. I'm not fixing your equipment. I am not your employee, and I am certainly not your daughter anymore." My mother gasped, clutching her chest. "How dare you, after everything we've done for you, giving you a home and a job?" "You didn't give me a career," I retorted. "You gave me a mountain of debt and a crime." I slid a thick legal folder across the table, right in front of my father. "Open it." He looked at the folder, then at me. For the first time in his life, he saw something in my eyes he had never seen before: absolute determination. His hand shook slightly as he opened it. The moment he saw the top document, the Minnie Winery Inheritance Trust, his face turned completely ashen. What is this?" he stammered. "You know exactly what it is," I said coldly. "Keep reading." He turned the page to reveal the withdrawal slips. My mother leaned over to look, and the second her eyes hit the signatures, written in her own distinct handwriting, she let out a high-pitched whimper and pulled her fur coat tighter around her neck. "That's a mistake," my father said, his voice trembling violently. "It's just paperwork, a misunderstanding." I shook my head. "It's not a misunderstanding, Henry. It's a felony, grand larceny, aggravated identity theft, and wire fraud. I've already been to the police. Detective Harris has the originals, and the forensics team has verified the forgeries. He's waiting for my signal to arrest you." My parents froze. The only sound left in the room was the heavy rain drumming against the window pane. "You went to the police?" my mother whispered, horrified. "You called the cops on your own parents. You stole from your own child." I shot back. $150,000. You took my grandmother's dying gift to me and spent it all on Lily." My mother began to weep. "We had to help your sister. She has so much potential. We were always going to pay it back once she made it big." I let out a harsh, dry laugh. "Lily has been in New York for 5 years. She doesn't have a job. She throws lavish parties funded entirely by my stolen future." My father slammed his hand on the table, trying to regain control. "It's family money. You're being selfish, hoarding it while your sister struggles." Mr. Thompson interjected, his voice cutting through the air like ice. "It was a closed trust, Mr. Thompson. Legally, that money belonged to Minnie alone. By accessing it without her knowledge, you committed grand theft. By signing her name, you committed forgery. These are indisputable legal facts." He leaned forward, bracing his hands on the table. "Here is your current situation. Detective Harris is holding a warrant, waiting for a text from Minnie. If she sends it, a squad car will be at your house in 20 minutes. You will be arrested, booked into county jail, and with this paper trail, you are looking at a minimum of 5 years in prison." My father slumped back into his chair, completely defeated. "Prison? I can't go to prison. I have a bad back." "Then you shouldn't have committed a felony," I said flatly. My mother swallowed hard, looking at the documents. What do you want from us? I pushed a legally binding settlement agreement across the table. You will liquidate the winery. You will sell the land, the equipment, and the estate. You will pay me back my $150,000 plus interest, totaling $165,000. And then, you will leave me alone forever. If you ever attempt to contact me, the deal is off, and I will press criminal charges immediately. My father looked at me as if I were a stranger. You're disowning us, we're your family. I'm not disowning you, I replied. I'm firing you. You were bad parents, bad bosses, and terrible people. I am terminating our relationship. With shaking hands, my father reached for the pen. He signed his name and passed the paper to my sobbing mother, who did the same. I pulled the document back, carefully verified the signatures, and looked up. Get out. They stood up slowly, looking like ghosts of the tyrants they used to be. Before walking out, my father turned back, his expression bitter. You're cruel, Minnie. I never thought you had it in you. I looked him dead in the eye. I learned from the best. The door clicked shut behind them, sealing my past away. Mr. Thompson looked over at me and offered a warm smile. Well done, Minnie. I turned my chair toward the window, watching the rain wash the city streets clean. I didn't feel cruel. I felt entirely, beautifully free. To understand how I arrived at that frozen conference room, you have to look back at the fields of Napa Valley. I grew up on our family winery, where my sister, Lily, was the absolute center of the universe. She was beautiful, talented, and perpetually kept in the spotlight. I, on the other hand, was treated like hired help. I remember when I was just 14, it was the height of the harvest season, and the winery was utterly swamped. My father marched up to me and said, Minnie, we need to move these barrels to the back storage. The forklift is broken, so you'll have to do it by hand. I looked at the massive, heavy wooden barrels. Dad, they're way too heavy for me. Can't we just wait for the repairman tomorrow? He snapped at me, his face twisting. Don't be lazy, use your muscles. This winery is your responsibility. I spent the next 12 hours dragging those barrels across the concrete, my back aching intensely and my hands covered in raw, bleeding blisters. Meanwhile, that exact same evening, Lily was at a dance recital, being showered with flowers and praise by my doting parents. As we grew older, the exploitation only worsened. Even when I was in college studying viticulture, I was expected to manage the winery's entire financial backend on the weekends. I remember one specific weekend, when the accounting system crashed right before payroll. My father threw a massive stack of chaotic receipts at my face. Fix it, Minnie. If the laborers don't get paid on time, they'll walk out, and it will be your fault. Because of that, I missed a major, unrepeatable presentation at my university and a date with a guy the first really liked. I sat in that dark office all night long, manually typing in data, blinded by tears of pure stress. The next morning, I stumbled into the kitchen, entirely exhausted. My parents were sitting at the table, laughing and enjoying breakfast with Lily. Oh, look who finally decided to join us, my mother said, not even looking up from her plate. Lily just got a call back for a massive modeling gig in the city. We are just so incredibly proud of her. What about the payroll? I asked, my voice cracking from exhaustion. I stayed up all night and saved the winery's workforce. My father just waved his hand dismissively. That's just basic administrative work, Minnie. It's expected of you. Don't fish for compliments. For years, they forced me to pay the rent on a luxury apartment in the city out of the winery's corporate account. They claimed it was strictly for high-end business meetings, but I knew it was just an excuse for them to live in comfort while my actual salary was barely enough to afford a cramped, moldy studio apartment. The breaking point arrived on Thanksgiving. I had just spent 3 months negotiating a $25,000 distribution contract that single-handedly saved our family business from imminent bankruptcy. We were having dinner in the wine cellar because my mother wanted a rustic, authentic, holiday atmosphere. I was sweating through my shirt from running back and forth, serving them. Lily sat across the table, looking pristine and flawless. She had just booked a high-end perfume commercial. My father stood up, clinked his glass with a spoon, and raised it high. A toast to our absolute star, Lily, for always bringing glamour and prestige into our lives. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Dad, I literally saved the winery today. The bankruptcy papers were cancelled because of the contract I secured. He looked down his nose at me, his eyes turning incredibly cold. Minnie, stop being so deeply jealous of your sister. You were born to work the land so Lily can shine. That's just the way it is. In that exact moment, an eerie, profound calm washed over me. The hurt vanished, replaced by total clarity. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my heavy keyring, the keys to the main estate, the fermentation equipment, the secure storage, and the corporate safe. I looked at the bowl of mashed potatoes in the center of the table and dropped the keys right into the middle of it with a heavy thud. Then the land is on its own, I said quietly. I stood up, looked my father dead in the eye, and walked out of that suffocating cellar. The crisp, cold night air hit my face like a splash of water, and for the first time in my life it felt incredible. I got into my 10-year-old Ford, a car that permanently smelled like crushed grapes, and drove away without a single glance in the rearview mirror. I pulled over at a rest stop an hour later, opened my banking apps, canceled the recurring luxury rent payments for their city apartment, and reported their corporate credit cards as completely lost. I knew exactly what would happen. Their cards would be declined, their landlord would threaten eviction, and their comfortable facade would crack. I didn't care anymore. I was officially done being their doormat. I drove out to the coast and checked into a cheap, rundown motel. By 8 o'clock the next morning, my phone was absolutely detonating. 47 missed calls and 82 text messages. 8 a.m., Dad, Minnie, where the hell are you? The fermentation pumps aren't turning on. 8:15 a.m., Dad, Minnie, pick up right now. The temperature in the main storage vault is dropping. We're losing product. 9:30 a.m., Mom, stop this ridiculous childhood tantrum, Minnie. Your father is incredibly stressed. Come back and fix the system immediately. I just laughed, setting the phone face down. They were completely paralyzed without their scapegoat. Later that evening, my phone rang from an unrecognized landline. I finally picked it up. Hello, Minnie, a sharp, familiar voice said. It's your Aunt Rose. If my mother called you to tell you I've lost my mind, I don't want to hear it, I said defensively. Oh, she did, Aunt Rose replied with a chuckle. She said you've gone completely crazy. But I told her it's about damn time. Minnie, I have something that belongs to you. Your grandmother Clara left it in my care before she passed away. She told me to give it to you the exact day you were finally ready to walk away. Ready for what? I asked. Ready to take back your life? Meet me at the diner on Highway 1, the one with the neon fish sign, in an hour. When I walked into the diner, Aunt Rose was sitting in a corner booth, looking as formidable as ever with her cropped silver hair and sharp red lipstick. She gestured for me to sit. You look like you've been dragged through hell, kiddo. Actually, I said, sliding into the vinyl booth, I feel fantastic. She pushed a hot mug of coffee toward me and reached into her large tote bag, pulling out a heavy, scratched metal lockbox. Clara gave this to me a week before she died. She knew your parents inside and out. She knew they would bleed you dry and take advantage of your work ethic if they could. I stared at the rusted metal. What's inside? Open it. I peeled the old tape off the key tape to the lid and unlocked it. Inside lay a stack of historical bank statements and certified legal trust deeds. Right at the top was a document stamped, the Minnie Winery Inheritance Trust. Beneficiary, Minnie. Trustees, Henry and Vera Thompson. Initial principal deposit, $150,000. I gasped, the air leaving my lungs. I never knew about this. They told me Grandma died completely penniless. Aunt Rose spat out her words with pure disgust. Lies. Look at the transaction history, Minnie. I flipped the page, my eyes scanning the ledger. January 12, 2018, withdrawal minus $45,000. March 4, 2018, withdrawal minus $30,000. June 15, 2018, withdrawal minus $75,000. Remaining balance, $0. The dates lined up flawlessly. January 2018 was the exact month Lily moved to her high-end flat in New York. March was when she paid for her professional modeling portfolio. June was when she showed up at the house driving a brand new luxury sports car. They stole it all for Lily, I whispered, my voice trembling as years of engineered poverty flashed before my eyes. Look at the signature lines on the actual bank slips, Aunt Rose urged. I pulled out the photocopied slips from the bottom of the box. There, on the authorization line, was my name, Minnie. But it wasn't my signature. I recognized the tight loops and sharp slants instantly. It was my mother's handwriting. She forged my name, I said, the crushing weight of the betrayal hitting me like a physical blow. That is grand larceny, forgery, and banking fraud, Aunt Rose said firmly. It is a straight felony. It's time to stop crying, Minnie, and start fighting. Right there in the diner booth, the ambient noise faded into absolute silence. I thought about the years of brutal, unpaid labor. I thought about the ramen noodles I survived on while my sister drank champagne on my dime. There had been a lifeline waiting for me the entire time, and my own parents had criminally wiped it out. I pulled out my phone and dialed the police. Hello, my name is Minnie Thompson. I need to report a major case of grand theft and identity forgery. The amount exceeds $100,000. I have the physical proof in front of me, and I know exactly who did it. Aunt Rose raised her coffee mug in a silent toast. Welcome to your justice, Minnie. 2 years have passed since that fateful day in the law office. Following our settlement, my parents were forced to liquidate the winery, sell off the ancestral estate, and completely dissolve the family business to pay back every cent they stole from me, plus interest. I took that money and bought a quiet, beautiful plot of land on the coast. Today, I run a highly successful boutique landscape design business, helping people cultivate beauty from the ground up. I live in a gorgeous, sunlit cottage on my property. I have a golden retriever named Max who follows me through the gardens, and a wonderful partner, Tom, a local carpenter who just finished building me a custom glass greenhouse. I don't speak to my parents or Lily at all. Aunt Rose occasionally mentions that my father has become a bitter, isolated old man, telling anyone who will listen that his cruel daughter stole his livelihood. My mother is apparently still living in a cramped apartment, desperately waiting for Lily's non-existent modeling career to finally take off. I don't wish them any harm, but truth be told, I don't waste a single second thinking about them either. I've finally learned an invaluable lesson. I am not a background character meant to be sacrificed for someone else's spotlight. I am the architect of my own life, and I get to choose exactly what and who is worthy of my support. I've planted my own roots now, and I am finally blooming into the person I was always meant to be.